nice tease. But your buddy's worse off and he throws you his car keys. Blue lights are blinking 4 o'clock in the morning. St. Trooper makes you wish that you'd never been born. Better call Saul, better call Saul.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, It's All Good, man, the Better Call Saul podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Dave. Dave, how's it going?
Pretty good. I'm pretty excited to get this spin-off podcast going about a spin-off show.
Me and Dave host the Nothing Important podcast. You can find us on iTunes there. But we're both pretty into Breaking Bad, but we both kind of came in late on the series. I didn't watch it when it was on AMC.
I did not either. I'm actually currently binge watching it on Netflix. I am just starting the 5th season.
Right, and I watched it not too long ago with my wife. We marathon watched it over probably the course of 2 weeks, just every night up till 2 in the morning watching every episode.
That's about how I've been, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and hopefully Better Call Saul is created and made by many, if not all, of the same people. So I'm thinking, even though it's actually a prequel to Breaking Bad, it's going to keep the same quality, and hopefully it keeps some of the weird idiosyncrasies of Breaking Bad, such as the weird time jumps,
right,
or the seemingly unrelated openings before the credits,
right,
that tie in later in the episode, or even sometimes like 2 or 3 episodes down the road.
It might even come in like the series finale or something.
Yeah,
or the season finale. Sorry.
So so Better Call Saul starts February 8th on AMC, and then the next night they're actually playing it again, and it's going to be on Monday night. So hopefully we'll have these shows ready for you to go by Tuesday morning.
Right.
That's the plan,
goal.
right?
That's the plan.
Absolutely.
Immediate reaction and talk aboutness.
And of course, if anybody out there listening, you would like to have your opinions or theories or predictions read on the show, please feel free to email us, host@nothingimportantpodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook under It's
on your
All
friends
Good.
list if you're listening to this.
On your friends list under It's All Good, man. So the show is a prequel to Breaking Bad, and it takes place when Saul was actually a lawyer starting out known as Jimmy McGill, which I find very interesting because that opens up a whole slew of opportunities to introduce characters that appear as his cohorts, so to speak, in Breaking Bad.
And I'm wondering if it's going to be more of vignettes and more of an anthology type thing where he has to deal with different stories from different clients. Whereas Breaking Bad, it focuses on, he's a character in someone else's story, so it's just one story. But this setup seems to be maybe it can kind of.
If I were to guess, I haven't seen any reviews or anything on it thus far because I kind of wanted to do our first podcast with yours and I's true opinions and predictions of what we would like to see of the show.
Our hopes, our fears.
Right, without knowing too much about it.
Right.
So I thought that was an interesting way to go for the first episode of It's All Good, man.
Right.
One thing that I hope, and I know you're binge watching, so I might spoil it for you. There's a part where Saul has to skip town in Breaking Bad, and he makes the comment that he's now going to end up as a fry cook somewhere. So I'm hoping the series starts as him as a fry cook, and then how it gets to the prequel area is maybe him lamenting his station in life and how he ended up there, like almost resentful of the events of Breaking Bad.
Right.
And then it shows how he got there, which I think might be the route that they're going, because as I said in episode 8 of season 1 of Breaking Bad, he mentions how Saul Goodman is the name that he made up, and his real name is James McGill. So I'm hoping it goes back to the time when he's James McGill out of law school, and how does he meet these characters? If you watch some of the previews, like on AMC.com, they had a preview trailer, and one of the people it did show was Mike, his kind of headhunter enforcer in Breaking Bad.
Right.
He actually meets Mike, who's a toll attendant at a parking garage.
Mike's a former police officer.
That may be true, but maybe he was retired from the force before he became a parking garage attendant. Because in the previews, Saul is actually having an argument with Mike over the price of parking. I think it's like $3, but Saul doesn't want to pay it, and Mike won't let him into the parking garage, and they get into an argument, which I'm assuming leads into bigger things. So it's cool that they're gonna show the kind of their genesis, how they come together.
Right. Origin stories are the hot thing now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Some other characters that I think would be great to see is Hugh, the big fat guy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hugh, how does he meet up with Hugh? I'd love to see how that comes into play.
Yeah.
And
And his receptionist, because she's kind of got her little sassiness and attitude. She's a cool character too.
Right, and I wonder, the thing about that, I wonder if in the prequel, not only is it going to show how they met and how she started working for him, but I wonder if they were former lovers, because in the first season of Breaking Bad, when she's walking away, he actually propositions her to go home with her. He's like, hey, can I follow you home? And she said, nope. And he makes a comment before he shuts the door and turns off the lights that are like, oh, you're killing me with that ass.
Yeah, I never noticed that.
So I'd like to see, I think it'd be great if there was some sort of angle where like maybe he was pining for her and he has like the secret crush, and then maybe that'll actually be the love story, because everything's got to have a goddamn love story. So maybe that'll have the love story. He hires her as a receptionist, and she puts up with the shit, and he just kind of
in
pines
hopes of wooing her over time and winning her favor.
Right, or maybe it's like an unrequited love. Like maybe he constantly tries to romance her and woo her, and she constantly keeps turning him down. So I think that'd be a great dynamic to the show.
Pretty cool.
Another thing, I was just watching it today. What I would love to see is one of the more interesting characters, but completely minor, in season 1, when Badger gets busted by the DEA, and they hire James Edward Kilkelly, Jimmy In and Out.
Yeah.
They hire him. They basically pay him money to go to jail for Walt and Jesse.
Right.
I'd love to see like that relationship develop. How
yeah, like he doesn't he give examples of prior things that he's done?
Yeah, it's like it's a whole list. He's just more comfortable inside than he is out.
Right.
And I'd love to see them develop how he meets Saul,
and how he gets wrapped up in this whole thing,
and how he gets wrapped up in the whole thing.
Yeah, wasn't there a comment too that Saul made about like, you don't think this is the first, like when everybody's panicking to get out of Albuquerque in season 4. And he's like, do you think this is the first time I've done this? Doesn't he say something like that? And he alludes to the fact that he's started over so many times.
Right.
I'm wondering how many layers of that they'll go into.
Well, I did do some reading up on the articles, and that's why I think they have, because what the producers are appearing to try to do, they didn't want like a legal show, like law cases, this lawyer running around trying to solve cases, like Columbo or Scandal or some stupid show that they have on now.
Which is fine, because in Breaking Bad, I don't think you ever see him in the courtroom.
No, and then I was just going to bring that up, because there's articles out there where they're talking to the writers and such, and they started developing Saul as a character who's a lawyer who does anything he can to stay out of the courtroom.
Right. But still, because he makes his money, he makes more money outside the courtroom. Basically.
Right, yeah, absolutely. The whole, if you need a criminal lawyer, you should go to a criminal lawyer.
Yeah.
Exactly. One thing I don't want to see, though, with the series is people shoehorning in the events of Breaking Bad, because I always feel whenever anybody tries to do a sequel, they try so hard to connect it to the first movie or whatever that came before it. They try to connect those events so bad, and always...
Yeah. It just comes off as this like self-referential, like, hey, remember that show?
Right.
Or like, hey, we're still part of that, universe. And it's like, yeah, we know.
Right. So it takes place 6 years before Breaking Bad. So I hope they don't try to shoehorn something in where Sal goes to get gas at the gas station, or goes to get his car washed.
He gets his car washed, and then Walt's working the register or something.
Yeah, well, right, because that'd be bullshit, because if it's 6 years before that, presumably Jesse would probably be in high school.
No, I think Jesse starts at like 28 or something. So
he starts at 28?
He would still be an adult.
So he might be the only one. He might be the only one that I could see actually running into him, because he does say, he's the one that makes the comment, if you need a criminal lawyer, you should go to a criminal lawyer.
Right.
So maybe he's actually...
And he was already well into the drug trade and all that stuff before Breaking Bad even started.
Right.
His character was well...
Because he was what, making meth with like what was this thing? It was like putting cinnamon in it or something like that.
He would put chili powder.
Chili powder.
Yeah,
such a stupid gimmick.
I hate chili powder.
but that was his gimmick, right? That was his thing.
That was his signature. Yeah,
that was his signature. So he's already part of, criminal enterprises. He already runs with shady ass people. So what I would like to see is he's makes more sense to me, Saul running into him than Saul running into Walter White.
Right.
Before the the events of Breaking Bad. Like, to me, that would be more natural that this criminal lawyer would know somebody who knows these characters, and I would hope they would do, like at best, like a cameo,
right?
But not like a dumb cameo, right? Like, so if he like runs into Tuco, he wouldn't be like, oh, Tuco, and then they wouldn't like waste like half an hour of the show of him and Tuco hanging out. It'd be better if he just knew him through a guy,
right?
Right? Because Sal, like, I know a guy who knows another guy, right? It'd be cool if he was talking to another guy, and then like Tuco just happens to like drive by, pick up his money, and drive off, and that's the only time you fucking see him in the entire series.
Just something that makes sense and doesn't feel forced.
Right, yeah. I just definitely don't want it to be in a situation where it's just ridiculous bullshit that Hollywood likes to do where, Walter White's an incredibly popular protagonist of his show.
Right.
So let's make him a recurring character because Sal likes to get his car washed at the same goddamn place.
Right.
Or Sal is...
Until Bryan Cranston needs a paycheck, I guess.
I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Yeah,
Especially
I did notice. I don't know if it was in the first seasons or not, but I started noticing Bryan Cranston's name under the producer's credit, and I started thinking about that 30 Rock episode where they make Jenna a producer just to shut her the hell up.
Right.
I wonder how much Bryan Cranston's involvement was in Walter White's character development.
Well, I think why they do that is because of like actor union rules and stuff like that. Like, I know, for example, like if you direct the pilot of a show, and even if you never direct another episode, if you direct the pilot, you get paid a certain level of royalties throughout the duration of that series. Even if that's why a lot of times like the directors or like the head writer will be credited as the director of the pilot episode, so that since it was their idea, they get paid throughout the entire duration of the series.
I got you.
Which is smart, because I'd want to make money, for my project as well.
So that's another thing I'm wondering. There's 6 directors. I don't know how many there were in Breaking Bad because I don't even know how much I would care about the tone remaining the same. And
like the same.
that. Just like the cinematography, the set design, just the whole feel of the show. Because Breaking Bad feels intense.
Yeah. Like it's a little grittier and darker than typical.
Yeah.
Because Saul was totally the comedy relief.
Yeah, he's the comedy relief.
He was totally with the shitty commercials and the over the top like
the smarmy attitude.
Yeah, budget advertising and such.
Yeah.
Because what's perfect is because he is the beautiful embodiment of the stereotype that everybody thinks lawyers are.
Pretty much down to the Jewish name.
And he played that so well.
He did. I did. I'm a big fan of Bob Odenkirk. Some of his comedy pisses me off, but I thought he was a great choice for that role for sure.
All right. So 2 of the characters that I would like to see them develop the relationship and show how they actually met him was Huel and QB.
Like the muscle guys.
The muscle guys.
Is Huel happy? I just watched that episode.
Oh, is Huel happy?
Is Huel happy? Yeah.
Well, he's actually... I know you're just watching through all the episodes, but it actually turns out he ends up being one of the loose ends of Breaking Bad.
That gets tied up?
No, it doesn't get tied up.
Oh, it doesn't get tied up.
No, it's just Huel is in a spot, and then the movie or the show progresses.
They just don't get back to it?
And never get back to Huel. But maybe they'll do like we were talking about time jumps.
I'm cheating a little bit. I'm looking up these actors' character lists on IMDb. To see if they're going to be in the show.
But they don't always post that, though, on IMDb. Like with Walking Dead, a lot of times when they bring in characters, it's only, like, announced or officially put out there, like, right before the episode airs.
Yeah, or they'll just say, like, uncredited.
They try to keep it under wraps.
But he's definitely not listed on Better Call Saul.
Bill Burr?
Bill Burr is not.
Oh, well, let's hope so, because he's part of the muscle. So I would think at some point Saul has to develop relationships with these people.
Maybe that'll be like towards the end. The more current relationships on Breaking Bad will be towards the end of Better Call Saul.
Well, that's one of the things, too. I wonder if, because Breaking Bad had a definitive beginning and a definitive end. Even though the ratings were huge, they ended it. It was like, this is it. like
Right.
season 5.
Like, I wonder if they
done.
wrote out the whole story and said, this is the story we're going to tell. Hopefully we last 5 seasons to do it.
Right.
And then once it became a big thing, they're like, well, God damn it, but we wrote the story for 5 seasons and we can't.
Right. I don't want it to become
like
one of these shows
Like
where
Lost. We just write it as it goes on.
Right, and if you talk to the producers and writers and directors of that, they openly admit that. They're like, I don't know, like they want us to keep going, so we just started making shit up that didn't make any sense just so the show keeps going. But that's what made Breaking Bad awesome, is definitive beginning, definitive end. And especially towards the end, even though you and I didn't watch it live on AMC, it was huge. Everybody was talking about it. It was getting record ratings.
Yeah.
I mean, they were playing it like 6 nights a week on AMC, you know, like because it's so popular, people just wanted to keep watching it.
Right.
And they're like, no, this is it. This is the end. And so I hope they do the same thing with Better Call Saul. Like, I hope they have a definitive plan. Like, because like for example, Walking Dead. Like, I'm a big reader of the Walking Dead comics, and I watch Walking Dead TV show, which I think is a pretty good TV show.
Also on AMC. If you work for AMC and want to be on the Nothing Important,
Right.
Better Call Saul offshoot podcast.
But I every time they talk to Robert Kirkman, who's the creator of Walking Dead, they ask him about pivotal moments or pivotal characters in the comic book series, and his response leads me to believe that he'll get to that if they allow him to get to it. It's like, while he has an idea, it's not necessarily planned the story arc all the way through.
Right.
But Breaking Bad, it seemed like there was a beginning, a middle, an end of the story.
Right.
So I hope they take the same kind of care with Better Call Saul, beginning, middle, end, and then Breaking Bad fucking starts.
The fact that the same writers are working on both, hopefully, is a good sign of that. And I think nothing would be cooler than if the last shot of Better Call Saul is the first shot of Breaking Bad, if that's the way you really want to do it.
What was the first shot of Breaking Bad off the top of my head?
The very first shot was the RV running down, the pants flying in the air.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think...
Right, and then he was ready to stand off with the police. But, But then they
which
just
he
passed...
thought was the police, yeah.
Yeah.
But then I think after the credits roll, I think it goes to him at the car wash, doesn't it?
Maybe. I don't know.
Pull it up my phone right now.
Yeah, we'll have to look it up. But yeah, I don't mind it tying in like that, or see, like maybe that'd be a good time for characters to come into Better Call Saul, or at least Jesse,
like right at the end,
or like maybe at the beginning would be a good time for like Jesse, just because he's way younger, so he's some punk, you know. Maybe they have like some guy running with Jesse, you know, and then maybe towards the end of the series, he becomes more familiar with Jesse and his crew, and that's how it ties into Breaking Bad, because maybe that's about the time that Jesse is jumping out of the house with that naked chick, and when Walt realizes that it's one of his students.
Right.
I just want to avoid a situation where I'm excited for a movie, because I'm bad at watching movie and TV because they become stupid to me really quickly, like absurdly quickly.
Yeah, it's got to maintain some sort of human rationale and logic to it, because you're presenting it as a real thing, so have some reality to it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So because Breaking Bad was all about Walt's, you know, his
path of self-destruction.
Right.
Trying to take his life in his own hands or whatever.
Right. Know? So I think maybe that's why it'll probably be a similar tone, because it seems like that's kind of Sal's story as well, except for he kind of started off as a shithead.
Right.
Right? Like with the whole, like, his name is James McGill, but then he calls himself, you know, Saul Goodman. You know what I mean? Like he starts off as a shithead, and from what I read about it so far, I don't think that they're gonna. I'm glad they're not going the route where Saul was this really good, high level, super important, really successful lawyer,
right?
And then he does the typical thing where he gets corrupted.
With the fall from grace.
Right, yeah, which would be just fucking stupid from everything I read. So, you know, I'm hoping that it's just, well, you know, the guy is just kind of a shithead from the get-go. And because of that, he gets wrapped up in stuff, which makes him likable, because he was one of the few, like, honest characters in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, he was pretty much transparent.
Yeah, I mean, he is who he is. He makes no no apologies for it,
Yeah.
other than anything he would have to do to cover his own ass to keep doing his own thing.
Right.
Where like all the other characters, except for maybe who was Walt's brother-in-law,
Hank.
Hank, except for maybe Hank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I mean, Hank was probably, you know, he was probably the most honest character next to Saul.
Mm-hmm.
But even Hank had his bullshit because, you know, he saw the head blow up on the turtle, you know, and he kind of tried to hide that. And he did stuff where he would hide his wife's kleptomaniac tendencies or her
Right.
lying and such, where there was none of that with Saul, because if there was any deception to other people in the show, it's because that was just built into his character from the get-go. So
Right.
there was no like, man, this guy looks perfect, and then like, look at this dark secret he's hiding,
Right.
because Saul's just like, well, yeah, I'm kind of a doofus,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm not really all that nice of a person.
Yeah, I'm only loyal to the money. And,
Right. So it fit his character, because like with Hank, when we were watching with Hank, like some of the things I didn't get is like, you know, he's like super cop, you know, but then I thought it was way off character when he would like hide stuff from his wife or hide his wife's bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Like, because I mean, I get the whole being in love thing, but I felt that was kind of stupid that angle. You would think the way that they build up Hank's character, he would kind of harangue her more
Right.
about it. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I get like he would try to cover her ass because they're married and they're in
right,
love.
but he would be on her about it. He would
Right, you would think part of his character would be his home life.
Right.
Would be like he'd be on her, you know, like constantly remind her not
That's
to do
what
this.
I always wondered, because you get through the whole like when he's incapacitated and she's taking care of him, but he's still kind of being a dick to her. Mm-hmm. Like, were they trying to say like he's too busy with the investigation to care? Or were they trying to say like he's too into himself to realize what she's, you know, kind of shit like that? You know, I didn't really understand where they were going.
Or it could have been like he was a dick to her because he's in this shitty situation. He's just kind of not like in the mood to like keep covering her ass. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like his frustrations, that's just another frustration he has. So he's just like, you know, like maybe he was like you know, in bed or whatever, like held up, you know, like, and he was just his frustrations with her were boiling over, and that's why he was a dick to her.
Yeah,
but
sure.
like that would make sense for the character, but like, yeah, I don't think that's what they're going for. with
Right.
him. I don't think that's what they were going for.
I think they were
think-
creating conflict just to create conflict.
Right. And so that was convoluted. So that was like one of the few things that bothered me about Breaking Bad,
Mm-hmm.
where I don't see that happening with Better Call Saul, because the guy's a shithead who creates conflict, feeds off of it, and profits from it.
Right.
So a lot of that stuff would come more natural as far as Saul was concerned, is because he totally seems like we talked about, you know, maybe there's some like weird love-hate relationship with his secretary that he, you know, and maybe she keeps denying him, but that would make total sense, because maybe she's attracted to him, but she knows what he's doing, and her whole thing is like, well, if he just keeps giving me a paycheck, you know, like I'll work for the fucker, but there's nothing I'll ever do
Right.
to be with him, you know. So you know, maybe they have some sort of love thing where like she flat out tells him something like that, like, hey, I can't be with you, and then he, because he knows he's smarmy, he just kind of deals with it, and then it becomes like, you know, he's always hitting on her, even though he'll never get her.
Right.
But she won't sue him or anything.
Because he writes her page.
Right. So like that makes sense as a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
But I hope they don't go the whole route where, like I said, I don't think they're setting it up this way where he's like some successful lawyer and then his fall from grace is built around like he had a family and a wife at some time.
No, I picture him more as like, you know, Saul Goodman of Wilmington, Illinois type lawyer, you know, dealing with meth heads and shit. And then just kind of, you know, bigger and bigger clients, because he's actually good at what he does. He's resourceful, he's smart, and he's fast, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's very...
And he somehow builds trust, actual real relationships with people throughout all of the dishonesty and shenanigans that's going on around him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that character. I really do like that character.
Saul?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's... And they couldn't have picked a better person to do the spinoff
No. Yeah.
for. I mean, maybe Mike would have been a really cool one.
Mike would... Yeah, but he's
But
a
maybe
grunt,
his and
you
Saul's
know.
story are so intertwined. Because
It
you
kind of
see...
will be both, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you see the shit that you see the shit that Mike does in the show, and it's like, wow, that guy at one time was like some crazy badass police enforcer, but then it showed the preview for Better Call Saul, and he's a ticket booth attendant,
Yeah.
and he gets into an argument with. So that leads me to believe that he was like retired or out of that game when he meets Saul, and then something happens to
trigger it.
yeah, like to trigger their relationship.
Yeah.
And I imagine their relationship would probably be very much very tumultuous as well.
Yeah, I don't want it to get as bad as like Walter and Jesse. I mean, I'm not done with the show yet, so I don't know what all exactly happens, but pretty sure Jesse's gonna kill Walter at some point. I don't know, but yeah, that whole thing, because it just keeps, and it's like back and forth to each extreme, but farther on the extreme every time the pendulum swings. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's kind of like, oh god damn it, just kiss and make up already. You know?
Right.
You freaking love each other, Jesus.
So, all right, Dave. So, predictions for the premiere episode.
Bob Odenkirk's going to be in it.
Good. Will it be rated?
Here's my prediction for the first episode. It's going to air on February 8th. It's going to last about an hour. Mm-hmm. It's going to about 18 minutes of commercials.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's going to have some dialogue, some sound effects, some backing music. Mm-hmm. Opening credits.
Nice.
Some closing credits.
Nice.
And plot.
Nice. I'd probably agree with that prediction, but I think Sal is going to be in it.
I did say that, didn't I?
I don't know.
I said Bob Odenkirk was going to be in it. Okay. So first episode, I don't know. I'm just kind of curious to see what's going to happen. I don't think there will be much lawyering into it.
I hope they don't. I don't want to see I don't want to see him in the courtroom doing cases.
Right. No.
I don't want to see him do any of that shit.
No,
I want to see him.
It's going to be all that behind the scenes crap.
Right. I want to see him being smarmy. Well, like I said, they said it's a lawyer who does anything he can to not be in court.
Yeah.
And of course, that's going to be the best part of the show, is seeing how he gets money, how he profits. I'd like to see what what kind of house and shit he lives in as well.
Okay, I was thinking maybe we should do like bets along the way.
Okay.
So what's his first case that he takes on in the show?
His first case,
I'm going to say divorce.
Divorce?
I'm going to say it's going to be some kind of domestic, some really menial, small-time case will be the first thing that he deals with in this show.
Oh, that's a good one. I would say small claims.
Small claims.
I would say somebody hires him for some shitty few $1,000. Few
$100 for small claims.
Okay, so but small time. No, who are the actually I would say trial lawyer. I would say that his first case that they show is him as a trial lawyer, because trial lawyers are the people that go out and sue companies just to basically try to get money from them.
Right.
So I think he gets some sort of trial lawyer type case, like a slip and fall accident,
okay,
or something like that, and then he finds out that his first client has money, and but is also involved in something illegal, and that's what trips the trigger for him, and he figures out that he can.
Okay, that's how he gets into all the other shady.
Right, like maybe somebody just pays him a bunch of money not to mention something, and then he's already a shitty person, so he's like, yeah, okay. This is how I can make my money now. And then the series will be a progression of maybe it's a few $100s here where somebody pays him money to pay off a juror or something. Mm-hmm. And then it just keeps blowing up on him until he becomes this big crazy.
Okay. What state does he live in? Does it say where he's at?
I think it's New Mexico still. I think it's Albuquerque.
But I've moved around a lot.
But I would say I bet that he's not originally from there.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So where is he originally from if it ever comes out?
I say some Midwest. I say some corrupt city like Detroit or Chicago.
Okay, I'm going to go with... Damn, that's a good one. I'm trying to think of his attitude. He seems like an East Coaster to me. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say...
a New England type kind of guy?
I'm going to say small-time New England.
Small-time New England?
Not metropolitan New England.
Like Boston?
Well, but not quite so metropolitan. Maybe a suburb, like a suburb of Boston or some shit.
See, and that'd be good because he talks about how he's actually Irish, but then he came up with the Jewish sounding name. So I could see that him being some brass shitty like Boston lawyer that somehow. But how does he get to New Mexico? How do you think he gets to Albuquerque?
See, I'm wondering. I'm gonna say maybe he'll just mention it instead of actually showing it or something.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because that's
well, how do you think he even gets... Oh, okay, here's a question. Is he on the lam?
Right. Okay. So if we're going with he might be from Boston or a suburb of Boston, maybe maybe the way he gets into it, we talked about like somebody gives him money on the side. Maybe he does something to fuck that person over, and he's on the lam. So his whole excuse, like I just call myself Saul Goodman because it sounds, and he makes like the joke, like so I sound like part of the Jewish tribe or whatever.
Right.
Maybe that's just a story he told Walter White. He came up with Saul Goodman because who knows? Maybe Jimmy McGill isn't even his real name.
Oh, I'm absolutely certain Jimmy McGill is not even. It's probably an alias he used before Saul Goodman, but not his real name.
Oh, that's good. That's a good prediction.
I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna put that on the board. That's my prediction right there. One of them.
You know what we'll do too? I'll be sure to put these on like the website, like predictions, and see if any of them come true.
Absolutely.
But so that's good. Yeah. So maybe Jimmy McGill. So I think though, just because he's just kind of a shady person, that would be my so we're our overall prediction is he's from like somewhere like New Englandy, where he's just kind of a smarmy guy, and he's on the run to.
Or I'm saying we compete on these predictions.
Okay, so
my prediction on the lam from the East Coast, at least 2 aliases. We don't even know his real name yet. He's going to start with some sort of divorce proceeding, some kind of small. It'll be in his office, won't even be in the courtroom. And he lives in an apartment, not a house.
Nice. Okay. So my prediction is
he lives in a hotel. Sorry, he lives in a hotel.
Oh, you think he lives in a hotel?
Yeah, I think he's going to start off living in a hotel.
Okay. So then my prediction is that he's from somewhere Midwestern-y, like in a city that's known for corruption, like Detroit or Chicago. Yeah, or the Chi.
Well, I tried to say Chicago when my mouth burped.
Gotcha. So he's from the Midwest area.
Springfield, Illinois. That's known for corruption. Hey-o.
Three out of 4 of our last governors are in jail. That's true.
I know.
All right, here we go. Ready?
Okay.
All right. So that's your prediction, Dave. So my prediction is that he's from some corrupt Midwestern city, kind of like a Detroit
or Chicago.
And he was a trial lawyer that figured out that screwed over maybe somebody that gave him a bribe, and he kind of weaseled his way out of it, but he weaseled his way out of it enough to where he could escape without being killed. And then he just picked Albuquerque, New Mexico, because it's in the middle of the desert, and who the hell cares about New Mexico?
Right.
And as far as his living arrangements, he seems to me like somebody that, although he's taking in all this money on the side, would probably live in like a Section 8 housing or something like that, just to keep a low profile.
Yeah, low profile, exactly.
Low profile.
See, I'm thinking more like he just got into town, so he's living in a hotel room to start.
Oh, that's good.
Something else. If it's going to be an origin story, I'm picturing it's going to be when he arrives in Albuquerque. For some reason, it just strikes me that character would be like, his story with this universe starts when he arrives in Albuquerque. Already kind of in deep, but not really. But running from something.
Gotcha. Well, that's a good prediction. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually, I'm going to type out
I watch a lot of movies.
Right? So what we're going to do, folks, is Dave and I are going to put our predictions on our website, which is hosted at nothingimportantpodcast.com. Just click on the tab that says, it's all good, man. Click that. We're going to have our predictions, and then we're going to keep a tally of how like we can gauge how good our predictions come true. It won't be like a yes or no. Maybe we'll ascribe some sort of point system. And you, as listeners, can send us
your predictions.
Send us your predictions. We'll talk about them on air. We'll compare them to our predictions. And plus, we want to hear about what you folks want from the show, what you guys are going to happen. We want to make this as interactive with our audience as possible. So please hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, or even at the website, Nothing Important Podcast. You'll see the tab right there for Better Call Saul. We want to hear from you, and we want to involve you in this. And that's the first episode of It's All Good, Man. I'm Brian. I'm here with Dave, and we'll be updating this podcast every Monday night, so you'll be able to hear it Tuesday morning. Tell us where you think we're right. Tell us where you think we're full of shit.
Yeah, call us idiots, call us geniuses. I don't care. Just call us.
You better go, Saul.